On the morning of the 1st of July 1916, thousands of whistles sounded across the Somme. Moments later, tens of thousands of men climbed from their trenches and advanced into history. More than a century later, I travelled to the Somme to explore the memorials, cemeteries and battlefields that continue to tell their story. This is my journey across one of the most significant battlefields of the First World War. Leaving Arras behind, I made my way south towards the Somme. Today the landscape is peaceful, with rolling farmland and quiet villages stretching across the horizon. Yet more than a century ago, these fields witnessed some of the most fiercest fighting of the First World War. My first stop would be one of the most striking reminders of that conflict, the Lochnagar Crater. In the months leading up to the Battle of the Somme, British tunnellers worked beneath the front lines, digging deep underground towards German positions. Their task was to place enormous mines beneath the enemy trenches without being detected. At 7:28 am on the morning of the 1st of July 1916, just minutes before the infantry attack began, the mine beneath Lochnagar was detonated. Containing around 27 tons of explosives, the blast tore through the landscape and created the crater that remains here today. The explosion was so powerful that it could be heard many miles away and is considered one of the largest man-made explosions in history up to that point. In a matter of seconds, the explosion created a crater measuring approximately 100 metres across and 30 metres deep. More than a century later, the scale of the crater remains astonishing and serves as a powerful reminder of the destructive force unleashed on the opening day of the Battle of the Somme. While Lochnagar stands as a reminder of the immense firepower unleashed on the opening day of the Battle of the Somme, the story of the battle is ultimately one of the men who fought here. Leaving the crater behind, I continued my journey across the battlefield towards one of the most important memorials on the Somme for visitors from Northern Ireland, the Ulster Tower. Standing on the ground captured by the 36th Ulster Division during the opening day of the Battle of the Somme, the tower serves as a lasting tribute to the men who fought and died here on the 1st of July 1916. Inspired by Helen's Tower in County Down, the memorial was officially opened in 1921 and remains a place of remembrance for generations who continue to visit the Somme. From here, it is possible to look out across the battlefield and begin to appreciate the challenge faced by the men who advanced across this ground more than a century ago. During my visit, I had the opportunity to take part in a guided tour of Thiepval Wood. Hidden among the trees are preserved trench systems and battlefield features that offer a fascinating insight into the conditions experienced by soldiers during the war. Walking through the wood along the trenches provided a powerful connection to the events that unfolded here and helped bring the history of the battlefield to life. At 7:30 am on the morning of the 1st of July 1916, the men of the 36th Ulster Division climbed from their trenches and advanced into the chaos of the Battle of the Somme. Their sector lay north of Thiepval, facing some of the strongest German defences on the Western Front. For 7 days, British artillery had bombarded the enemy positions, and many believed the German trenches had been destroyed. They were wrong. As the Ulstermen moved forward across no man's land, machine gun fire and rifle fire swept the battlefield. Yet despite heavy casualties, the division pressed on. Using advanced positions dug close to the German lines, many units crossed no man's land with remarkable speed. They broke through the German front-line trenches and pushed deep into the enemy defences. Their principal objective was the Schwaben Redoubt, one of the most formidable German strongpoints on the Somme. After fierce fighting, the Ulster Division captured the position and continued advancing beyond it. By mid-morning, men of the division had penetrated further than almost any other British formation on the opening day of the battle. Some reached the area of the Stuff Redoubt and advanced close to Grandcourt, pushing nearly a mile beyond the original German front line. For a brief moment it appeared that a breakthrough had been achieved, but elsewhere along the Somme front the attack was not succeeding. To the south, assaults around Thiepval and other neighbouring sectors had suffered devastating losses and failed to secure their objectives. The divisions on either side of the Ulster Division were unable to advance far enough to protect its exposed flanks. As the day wore on, German reserves began to arrive. Counterattacks struck from both sides and from the front. The men who advanced so far now found themselves isolated, short of ammunition, and increasingly vulnerable. Throughout the afternoon, desperate fighting raged around the Schwaben Redoubt and the captured trenches. One by one, the hard-won positions were abandoned or retaken by German forces. By nightfall, most of the ground gained during the morning had been lost. The 36th Ulster Division had achieved one of the deepest penetrations of the entire British attack on the 1st of July 1916, but without success on either flank, their advance could not be sustained. The cost was immense. More than 5,500 officers and men of the division became casualties in a single day. Their courage and determination became one of the most enduring stories of the Battle of the Somme, and the actions of the 36th Ulster Division on the 1st of July 1916 remain a defining chapter in the history of the Great War. A short distance away, standing high above the Somme battlefield, is the Thiepval Memorial to the Missing. Designed by Sir Edward Lutyens and unveiled in 1932, it is the largest Commonwealth memorial to the missing anywhere in the world. Inscribed upon its arches are the names of more than 72,000 British and South African soldiers who died in the Somme and have no known grave. For many families, this memorial became the only place where they could mourn the loss of a loved one. Standing beneath the towering arches and looking upon the thousands of names carved into the stone, it is difficult to comprehend the scale of the sacrifice made during the Battle of the Somme. More than a century later, Thiepval remains one of the most powerful and moving places of remembrance on the Western Front. While the Thiepval Memorial commemorates more than 72,000 soldiers who have no known grave, the battlefields and cemeteries of the Somme are also home to thousands of individual stories. One grave in particular has become known to people around the world. A short distance away from Thiepval lies the grave of Private William McBride. Although little is known about his life, his name became immortalised through the song The Green Fields of France, introducing generations of people to the human cost of the First World War. Today, visitors from across the world continue to seek out his grave and pay their respects. Standing here serves as a reminder that behind every name and every headstone was an individual with hopes, dreams, and a family waiting for them at home. Today we're here at the gravesite of young William McBride of the Royal Enniskillen Fusiliers, who became synonymous with the song The Green Fields of France. We stand here in silence where others once stood in courage. Names carved in stone, lives unfinished, hopes interrupted. We did not know you, but we remember you. May we leave this place grateful for your sacrifice, mindful of the peace brought at such cost, and determined that your memory will endure. You were loved, you are missed, you are remembered. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Whilst in the area, I made a stop at the memorial to the McCrae's Battalion. Raised in Edinburgh in 1914, the battalion became famous for the number of professional footballers who volunteered to serve together during the First World War. Among them were players and supporters from Heart of Midlothian Football Club, whose enlistment inspired many others to answer the call to serve. The battalion would go on to fight on the Somme, where many of its men were killed or wounded during the fighting. Today, the memorial stands as a tribute not only to the men of the McCrae's Battalion, but to all those who left behind their sporting careers, families, livelihoods to serve during the war. Standing here, it is a reminder that the impact of the First World War reached into every corner of society, from the battlefield to the football pitch. Leaving the Commonwealth cemeteries behind, I made my way to Fricourt German Military Cemetery. Here, more than 17,000 German soldiers are buried, many of whom lost their lives during the fighting of the Somme. The atmosphere here feels noticeably different. Dark stone crosses and grouped headstones create a very different appearance from the Commonwealth cemeteries found throughout the battlefield. Yet despite these differences, the message remains the same. These were young men who were caught up in one of the most devastating conflicts in human history. Among the graves are several marked with the Star of David, identifying soldiers of the Jewish faith who served in the German army during the First World War. Standing before these headstones, it is impossible not to reflect on the events that would unfold in Germany just a few decades later. Many of these men fought and died for their country long before the rise of Nazi Germany and the persecution that would follow. It is a striking and poignant reminder of the complexity and tragedy of history. Walking among the graves, the distinctions between victor and the defeated begin to fade. What remains are thousands of individual stories and a shared human cost that touched every nation involved in war. My final stop of the day was Newfoundland Memorial Park. Covering more than 70 acres, the park preserves one of the largest surviving sections of the original Somme battlefield. Unlike many locations on the Western Front, visitors can still see the trenches, shell holes and terrain, much as it appeared after the fighting ended more than a century ago. The park commemorates the men of the Newfoundland Regiment who fought here on the opening day of the Battle of the Somme. At the time, Newfoundland was a separate dominion of the British Empire, and hundreds of its young men had volunteered to serve overseas. On the morning of the 1st of July 1916, the regiment advanced across open ground towards the German lines. Within just a few minutes, they suffered devastating casualties. Of the approximately 800 men who went into the action, only around 70 were able to answer roll call the following day. Today, the bronze Carabao Memorial stands overlooking the battlefield, serving as a lasting tribute to the courage and sacrifice of the men who fought here. As the day drew to a close, I left the Somme with a far greater appreciation of the scale of the battle and the sacrifices made by those who fought here. From Lochnagar Crater and the Ulster Tower to the Thiepval Memorial, Fricourt and Newfoundland Memorial Park, each site tells a different part of the story. Together they help ensure that the memory of those who served here will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to continue following my journey through the First World War battlefields of France and Belgium, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm just beginning my journey on YouTube, and any support would be greatly appreciated as I share these historic sites and the stories behind them. Join me next time as I leave the Somme behind and travel to Vimy Ridge, Notre-Dame de Lorette and the battlefields of Flanders. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.